I stared at the wall, heart still jackhammering from that dots, whatever the hell that was. A moment felt like a lifetime under a microscope. Every regret I'd buried suddenly laid out like autopsy slides. And for what? This old-timer's parlor trick stared out my family and my wife, my kid brother. Hell, even Aunt Clara, who knits those god-awful scarves, was out there on that ghost transport, ticking down to the next warning vid. For days 4, and here we were playing abstract art with intel that cost lives to gather. He didn't even glance back when he said, "Good catch," like he'd plucked the thoughts straight from my skull. That diagram I'd been eyeballing, the one with the weird relay signatures buried 3/4 down the stack, now sat smack next to the top sheet map of the outer rim trade lanes. No obvious link. None. But damn if it didn't click in my gut like a maglock ceiling. Felt ... right? Like spotting a ghost echo on sensors. Can't explain, but no means trouble. The empty manila folder hit the floor with a pathetic slap, joining the spent tape rolls in a little graveyard of discarded practicality trash can 15 feet away. Nah, too far for a marathon toss, of course. Why walk when you can chaos? I rubbed my temples, frustration bubbling up hot and bitter. Rep or not, this guy was supposed to be the myth. The closer on impossible cases. Higher-ups swore by him. Work with Harlan. He sees the pattern. This looked like my 5-year-old's finger painting phase. If my 5-year-old had access to classified hostage files. But. My family 24 left. Scorch marks on the entry. 2. Crew cold. No manifest mat. Older wavelength. Broadcast 2 by Vanished Time Pros. Cold ones. He stepped back again. Farther this time. Arms crossed. Head cocked. Like he was listening to music only he could hear. Then he spun on his heel. Those crevice-deep laugh lines crinkling not from joy, but from that same amused knowing, like the universe had just whispered a punchline in his ear. "Where are the previous hostage reports from this sector?" he asked, voice casual as ordering coffee. "Also any other vessels found empty and floating intact?" I blinked. Froze because yeah, there were 3. No 4 if you counted the whispernet chatter about that luxury liner last cycle. All gutted clean, crews vanished or reduced, no ransoms on those, just ghosts drifting, beacons cold. I pulled up the secure drive on my pad, fingers flying despite the sarcasm still sour on my tongue. "You thinking copycat? Or pattern we missed?" He didn't answer right away. Just nodded slow, eyes back on the wall mural from hell. Then that tired smile crept in again, softer this time, like dawn trying to break through nebula dust. "Pattern," he said. "Always a pattern. Dark times don't last, kid." Bert, ignoring him. "That'll kill you faster than any rider on a pale horse." He tapped a fresh page onto the wall. Some obscure shipping log ID dismissed as noise. And suddenly the whole mess ... breathed. Lines connected my head before my eyes caught up. Relay hops, ghost signatures, abandoned hulks, forming a trail like breadcrumbs in the black. My breath caught. They're not vanishing. They're single quotes staging. His grin widened, wrinkles carving deeper, eyes twinkling with that eternal wariness but now lit by something fierce. Hope, maybe the real kind. Not the fluffy hallmark crap the forged in vacuum ribs cracked back to life kind. "Welcome to the dawn, partner," he muttered. "Now let's ride that white horse straight into their shadow before it comes collecting." I stood, chair scraping back, frustration melting into something electric. Frantic. Alive. For days. Plenty. If we hurried. But hurry smart. Because out here, in the deep black where peace feels like drowning in reverse ... Hope's the only delta V that matters. And we'd just lit the burn. I didn't answer right away. Just flicked the files over on my pad. 4 ghost ships in 18 months, all in the same sector spiral. Same MO. Older wavelength, ransom vids buying vanished time, scorch entry but no hull breach. Crews reduced by exactly 1 for the warning, then the rest ... gone. No bodies, no ransoms paid. Just empty hulks tumbling like warnings in the black. Harlan watched me scroll, that amused wrinkle-eyed grin deepening. "Pattern's a sneaky bastard," he muttered. "Hides in plain sight till you stop looking for the obvious." I exhaled hard. Obvious being. He tapped the wall again, 3 fingers on a faded shipping manifest from the second Ghost to Drifter's Lament. "These aren't pirates chasing credits. Pirates leave messes, these boys. They're curating." He dragged his finger across to a nav chart ID pulled from the whispernet. A lazy outward spiral from the abandoned mining outpost on Vesper as Folly. Staging points, quiet rocks, places nobody hauls through anymore. Vesper's Folly. I knew the name. Dead moon orbiting a brown dwarf. Old corp dig that went bust when the iridium vein pinched out. Rumor said the shaft still held breathable air pockets if you knew the codes. Perfect ghost pantry. "First breadcrumb," Harlan said, already shrugging into his battered flight jacket, the kind with more patches than original fabric. "We ride the drift lane the transport was on when it went dark. Swing by the Folly on the way." Quietly raised an eyebrow. "We thought you worked solo, myth." He snorted, a sound like gravel in a tumbler. Myths get lonely. Besides, your family's on the clock. For days ain't forever. The ship was Hazan, old courier cutter named Second Wind, registered under a dozen shell IDs, and looking every cycle of it. Inside smelled like burnt coffee, ozone, and something faintly holy, like old incense clinging to bulkheads. No fancy AI, manual sticks, real viewports you could crack if you wanted honest vacuum in your face. We've earned out of station on a cold vector, no transponder ping, running dark except for passive sensors, drinking starlight. Harlan piloted with one hand, sipping from a bulb that definitely wasn't coffee, humming some ancient hymn under his breath like he was on a Sunday drive. 3 hours out, sensors pinged a whisper low-power beacon, older than sign, tucked in the shadow of a nickel-iron rock called Widow's Tears. Harlan eased us in slow, thrusters coughing blue ghosts. The rock was hollowed out just a prospector's bolt hole from the rush days, but someone had been here recent. Fresh scorch on the docking clamps, airlock cycled without codes. Inside, emergency lights flickering red, crates pried open, ration packs gone. And on the far bulkhead, spray stenciled in fresh orange. 24 left T TikTok. My stomach dropped into my boots. Harlan ran a gloved finger over the paint. Still tacky. Less than 48 hours old and not running scared. They're taunting. He knelt by a discarded data spike half buried in dust, plugged it into his pad. Grainy security feed popped up. Masked figures in mismatched suits herding blindfolded passengers down a corridor that definitely wasn't T the Transport S. In the background, ZOG drift, but with a faint curve to the deck plating ring habitat. Or spin section, I muttered. Old style. Like the abandoned Agri ring at Epsilon Eridani's third moon. Harlan's eyes lit. Crumb too. They're hopping the ghost lane. Folly first for resupply, then the Agrian for whatever the hell they're curating. He stood, that tired smile cracking wider, something fierce underneath. We skipped the folly, burned straight for Eridani 3, cut him off at the pass. I stared. That's a hard burn. Fuel margins razor thin, one miscalc and we're the ghosts. He clapped my shoulder, gentle, but it felt like destiny landing. Kid, I've been miscalcing my way out of worse since before your daddy learned to shave. Besides, he nodded at the stenciled countdown. Clock's ticking, and I got a feeling that rider on the white horse, he's riding with us this time. Not for us. Thrusters roared. Stars stretched. We burned. Somewhere ahead, in the spinning dark of a forgotten ring, 24 hearts were still beating, and we were coming quiet as hope, fast as judgment, crumb by crumb. We burned hard for Eridani 3, pushing the Second Wind's old bones till the hull groaned like a drunk complaining about the tab. Harlan ran the numbers, manual slide rule, coffee-stained notepad, the works while I white-knuckled the co-pilot, yoke, pretending I wasn't counting down the hours in my head. 3 days left on the clock when we picked up a tight beam whisper from the Agri in automated distress loop, low power repeating every 6 minutes. Not the hostage vid, something older. A mayday from the Drifter's Lament, the second ghost ship dated 18 months back. Same sector, same spiral. Harlan's grin went sharp. They're ahead of schedule. Thought we'd need another day or two to sniff that fresh paint on Widow's Tears. Means they're cocky. Or scared. Scared of what? Of us catching up. Kit burn hotter. We slingshot around a rogue iceball for Delta V, skimmed Atma on a gas giant's moon for grav assist, and came in dark on the far side of Eridani 3's abandoned Agri-ing, a massive rusting wheel spinning lazy in the black. Lights long dead except for one flickering dock beacon. Someone was home. Harlan eased us into a cold berth too, spokes over from the lit dock. Fuel first. Friend second. Intel third. Try not to shoot anyone till we're topped off. The station, Bar creatively named the Spoke and Barrel, was half gravity from the ring spin, half regret. Smelled like recycled air, cheap synth whiskey and old gun oil. Perfect. We walked in like we owned the place. Harlan got 3 steps before the greetings hit. Well, hell, it ain't Saint Harlan, patron saint of lost causes and bad coffee. Big voice, bigger man, Bear McAllister Marine through and through. Arms like reactor shielding, beard you could hide a sidearm in. He enveloped Harlan in a hug that probably cracked ribs. Bear still ugly as homemade sin. And you're still short, preacherman, who's the puppy? Bear eyed me like eyes fresh meat. Name's Rourke. Family's on the clock. Play nice. Bear's face softened a hair. Heard the chatter. We'll fix it. From the shadows. If Harlan's here, it's already half fixed. The other half's just noise. That was Doc Valdez, teen woman. Former fleet surgeon. Voice like smoke and sarcasm. She slid a bulb of something amber across the bar. Drink, you look like you've been chewing vacuum. Mas came, whisper came, no relation to me. Thank God, scout sniper turned prospector. Quiet as space itself, eyes that missed nothing. He just nodded at Harlan. A whole conversation in one tilt of the head. We refueled while they caught up drive, cutting comedy, flying like shrapnel. Bear, last time you dragged me into one of your patterns, Harlan. I lost 3 teeth and gained this limp. Harlan, you gained character. Teeth were overrated, Doc. He still owes me for stitching his fool self back together. Interests compounded. Whisper, deadpan. I took payment in whiskey. Still waiting on delivery. Harlan. Added to my tab with the almighty he's patient. Tension underneath every laugh. They all knew the clock. They'd all seen the vids. The brawl started simple. Some freelance hauler with a mouth bigger than his brain bumped Bear. Called him washed up. Bear smiled polite, asked the man to repeat it. Man did. Bear folded him like cheap origami. Then the hauler's three buddies decided family sticks together. Bar erupted. I took a bottle to the shoulder, returned the favor with a stool. Doc used a med kit like brass knuckles, precise, nasty. Whisper ghosted behind two goons, choked one out, tripped the other into a table. Harlan just stood in the middle, sipping his drink, occasionally leaning out of the way so someone could crash into someone else. 30 seconds of chaos, then quiet, except for groaning. Bear hold the original loudmouth up by the collar. Friend, you got something to say about patterns in the black? Ghost ships hostages? Man's eyes went wide. Blood trickled from his lip. Didn't knows where, just heard talk. Crew came through 2 days ago. Big spender. Bought fuel. O2. Rations 430. Paid in refined iridium bars. Said they were heading Corridor Relay Station at Helix Drift. Something about final exhibit. Harlan went still. I felt it the click. Another crumb. He leaned in close. Voice soft as vacuum. He described the leader. Mask. Always mask. But ... tall. Left hand scarred bad. Voice like gravel in a blender. Harlan straightened smile. Gone today's lead. Helix drifts a week at normal burn. Bear cracked knuckles. We ain't normal. Doc already at the bar terminal. Pulling fuel manifests. We can sling the ring for boost. Cut it to 4 days if we ride the edge. Whisper 3.5 if we dump non-essentials. I looked at Harlan. Clock says 3 days till next vid. He met my eyes-tired ancient burnin'. Then we ride light. Dump everything but guns, coffee, and hope. Bear grinned like a wolf. My kind of road trip. We left the bar in ruins. 5 of us now old friends. New stakes burning out on a vector that shaved days off safe margins. Helix drift. Old relay. Dead center of nowhere. They were close. We were closer in the rider. He was galloping, but 5 Marines, 1 myth and a ship full of hope were galloping harder. Crumb by hot crumb. Folded origami or not. We were coming. We burned out of the agri ring like a bat out of hell. 5 souls crammed into the second window ship built for 3 if they liked each other. Bear took the jump seat behind Harlan. Boots propped on a crate like he owned the place. Doc claimed the med alcove, already inventorying stim packs and muttering about preventative medicine for idiots. Whisper ghosted into the sensor nook, fingers dancing silent over passive arrays. Me, I strapped in co-pilot, knuckles white, staring at the countdown I'd scrawled on the bulkhead in grease pencil. 3 days. Harlan punched the burn manual as always, that tired grin creasing deeper. Relax, kid. We'll make Helix drift in 3.5 if the old girl holds. Maybe 3 if Bear stops breathing so heavy. Bear rumbled a laugh that rattled the coffee bulbs. Once a Marine, always a Marine, sick boy. Breathing heavy's how I remind the universe I'm still in it. Devil Dog's got a point, Doc chimed in, not looking up from a kit. Though if you keep eating those ration bricks, Bear, your breathing's gonna be the least of our problems. Methane leak waiting to happen. Whisper's voice drifted from the shadows. Dry as vacuum. I'll vent him first. Quiet ride's a happy ride. Bear flipped him off without malice. Try it. Ghost. I'll fold you like cheap origami. I snorted despite myself. At Lime Pure Bear. Last time he'd used it was on that loudmouth back in the bar. Guy went down like a bad hand at poker. Limbs everywhere. Pride nowhere. Harlan glanced sideways at me. See? Crew's bonding already. Nothing like a ticking clock and mutual threat of asphyxiation to bring folks together. Conversation flowed like cheap whiskey, sharp warm, cut in. Bear regaled us with the time Harlan dragged him out of a pirate ambush on Vaganine. Man stood in the open, quoting scripture while I laid down fire. Bullets zipping like angry hornets. I yell, take cover, you crazy bastard. He just smiles that damn tired smile and says, cover S for folks who ain't T-sure whose side the almighty S on, Doc. And then he got shot in the ass. Twice. I dug the slugs out with a fork and a bottle of rotgut. Harlan shrugged. Character building. Besides, Doc charged interest. Still paying it off. Whisper in coffee. Worst currency ever. Tension simmered under every joke. We all felt it the burn too hard. Margins too thin. The curators 2 days ahead and cocky with it. That scarred hand leader buying iridium bars like pocket change. Final exhibit. Whatever the hell that meant. Mid-burn. Sensors pinged a faint echo another ghost hulk. This one the Celestial Mercy. Third in the pattern, Harlan swung us in for a flyby. Running silent. Docking scars fresh, airlock forced. Inside. Same stencil job. 24 left. Don't be late. Paint still wet enough to smell through the feed. My gut twisted there watching the lanes. Knew we'd check the ghosts. Bear growled low. Arrogant Sonsabeach's Doc, or baiting whisper. Both. Harlan just nodded slow. Eyes on the stencil. Rum. That one is chasing. Means they're close to done curating. I swallowed hard. Done how? He didn't answer. Just punched a new vector skimming, a comet tail for ice fuel, and one more grav slingshot. Ship shuddered like an old dog shaking off water. Bear clapped my shoulder. Gentle for a man who could fold steel. Easy, Rourke. Your folks are tough. They're breathing today. We'll make sure they're breathing tomorrow. Doc slid me a and Bob Drinky looked like death's warm-up act. Whisper from the dock. 3 days becomes 2 if we dump the coffee machine. Harlan spun in his chair, horrified over my cold, dead, caffeinated corpse. Laughter cracked the tension. Brief but real. Dry. Cutting. Maureen tough. We burned on. Helix drift loomed ahead in ancient relay station. Spokes cracked. Lights long dead except for one pulsing beacon in the core. They were there. We were closing. Clock ticking like a heartbeat in vacuum. And the rider, he was galloping hard. The 3 leathernecks, 1 myth, 1 surgeon, and a ship full of hope were galloping harder. Crumb by hot, crumb folded. Origami or not, we were coming.